two critical milestones of our independence journey. And I say so because the transfer of power from the British to our founding fathers took place in 3 steps over a period of 18 months. The first step was achieved after the May 27th election of 1963. This election ushered in our self-rule on June the 1st of 1963, and with this step, the first Prime Minister of Kenya, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, became the head of government. But the Queen of England still remained the head of state, and this meant that we were free, but not yet totally free. Indeed, 6 months later, the second milestone was achieved when we gained independence on December 12, 1963. On this day, here, we hoisted our national flag and played our national anthem for the first time. And as we did this, we were reminded that our national flag is not just a piece of cloth decorated with ink or some sentimental display of colors without history. Our flag is a symbol of the national wounds and scars that we bear from the Liberation War. It is a picture of the battles that were fought, those that were won, and indeed those that we lost. And because the ultimate act of every great warrior is to lay down his weapon, the shield and spears on our national flag symbolize victory. But even with independence, a national flag, and a national anthem, the Queen continued to serve as Kenya's head of state. It took us 1 full year to get to the third and final milestone of our liberation. And this happened on December 12th, 1964, when the Queen vacated her position as head of state, and with this act, Kenya transitioned into a full republic or Jamuhuri, making the total liberation of our country. On this memorable day in 1964, we returned to this garden to launch the Republic of Kenya and inaugurate its first president. And on the same day, the Governor General became the last expatriate occupant of Government House here in Nairobi. To commemorate this change of guard, the first president planted a mugumo tree at the exact spot where our flag had been hoisted at midnight of December 12, 1963. That 57-year-old tree still stands tall and proud to my right as a symbol of our struggle that dates back over 100 years. This December 12th is therefore a joyous day for Kenya because we mark the 58th anniversary of our independence and the 57th celebration of our becoming a republic. And as we mark this historic day, some will tell you that history is meaningless, unnecessary, useless and irrelevant to the concerns of the present. I beg to differ. History provides invaluable lessons to be learned and gives context to the present. By looking back, we are better able to look forward. Learning from the past means that we can build on its good, avoid its mistakes, and most importantly, it is a constant reminder of the ugly, so that even as we forgive, we must never forget. Fellow Kenyans, why did our founding fathers choose Uhuru Gardens as the place to celebrate Independence Day in 1963 and the Republic status in 1964? Why did they want generations to memorize about our history, the untold atrocities visited upon our people and all the evil associated with colonial rule. This ground on which we stand today were at one time also known as the Langata concentration camp. During the Liberation War, this concentration camp was the most notorious clearinghouse for our liberation fighters. In fact, it is estimated that up to 10,000 of our gallant and most feared liberators were confined in this camp at some point or another, and most of them did not survive the wrath of the colonizers. Indeed, Langata camp has been described in some books of history as resembling the Nazi camps in Germany, both in its psychological warfare and its methods of brutality. In fact, using quack scientists, the colonizers argued that devotion to the cause of Mau Mau was a mental illness, and the only way to deal with it was by creating mass detention camps where shock therapy and torture could be administered as a cure. And that was part of the logic they used to create the Langata concentration camp where we are seated today. So by creating this garden as a place of remembrance, our founding fathers wanted generations to recall the darkness of our colonial past, but not to be stuck in the pessimism that dark memories can breed. They wanted us to turn darkness into positive energy, the way they did it in concentration camps. Instead of breaking down in the camps and breaking down because of colonial brutality, they only became stronger. But there are other reasons also why our founding fathers brought us to this place of national remembrance. Each time we gather here, they wanted us to face our national fears and demons with courage, more so because no condition can be considered permanent. They wanted us never to question in the dark decisions we made in the light, mainly because the long walk to freedom was a walk of faith. Most of our liberators had no idea whether or when freedom would come. In fact, many confessed in their memoirs that many times they had doubt that their cause would ever see the light of day. And although their walk to freedom was long and hard, the only thing that sustained them was the burning conviction of the righteousness of their cause. They were troubled on every side, but never distressed. They were perplexed, but they never fell into despair. So, fellow Kenyans, when we congregate at this place of remembrance, we are all called on to renew the soul of our nation. We are called to appreciate the pain felt and sacrifices made by those who went before us. The fallen soldiers and heroes buried in unmarked graves in prisons and camps all over our country. And that is why the project under construction behind us was initiated. Apart from being a place of remembrance and healing, this place will be an arena where the past, the present, and the future will converge. When Kenyans walk through the Heroes Boulevard, their spirits will be edified by the sacrifice our liberators made. And at the end of the boulevard, there will be the tomb of the unknown warrior, a warrior whose name we do not know, although he died in battle for our country, and a warrior whose mother let him go, and both mother and son sacrificed so that we can be free. Once completed, this place of history will rekindle memories of our armed struggle and also the good, the bad, as well as the ugly of our history. At the Hall of Legends, it will bring alive our legendary ancestors, including Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, Mekatalili wa Menza, Koitalela Arap Samoei, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, Nabongo Mumia, Laibon Lenana, Dedan Kimathi, among many others. At the Tunnel of Martyrs, we will have a solemn memorial to each and every Kenyan who has lost their lives in the many watershed moments. This will range from the First to the Second World War, all the way to the victims of the post-election violence of 2008. In the rope gallery of this museum, a named rope will be dedicated to every one of the 1,090 heroic souls that were hanged during the colonial era. And at the Moments of Darkness gallery, we shall display the history of our country, of our lowest moments, the moments that we regret but are part of our history. But not all the galleries will be sad news. The Hall of Innovation in this museum will celebrate the brilliant, game-changing ideas produced by Kenyans. This hall will speak to the future and how our past has guided it. And the hall, again behind me, marked by a pointed spear, will characterize our latest exploits, our moments of great hope and national pride, and our bold path into the future. So, fellow Kenyans, this place will be a book of history, an illumination of the future, weaved in hope, written in pictures, sculptures, and historic artifacts. And although the place of remembrance will also be a place of pain, it will also be an altar for historical forgiveness. As Kenyans walk through the galleries of the heroes and legends, they must forgive those who trespassed against them. However, they must also heed the call from our founding father when he said, "We will forgive them, but we will never forget." We must forgive our transgressors, but we must never forget their name. Fellow Kenyans, finally our founding fathers brought us to this garden of remembrance to teach us that nation building is not a sprint, it is a relay. No single person or group of persons can make this undertaking alone. Liberation was achieved because it was a product of teamwork. And it must be recorded that the founding fathers were not a team because they worked together. They were a team because they reinforced each other and had deep respect and trust for one another. They taught us that nation building is like building a house. This endeavor is a product of teamwork and not individualism. They built a firm foundation for a prosperous Kenya. Others amongst them built the walls and others roofed the house. Everyone had a role to play, and no role was greater or lesser than the other. The same is true today as it was then. We are building a house called Kenya, and there is no place for one-manism in this project. It is the collective work of every able-bodied Kenyan. And yes, we will disagree at times, but in our disagreements, we must always remain respectful. In fact, respectful disagreements are what lead to reconciliation. More so, because when we disagree, it is a sign that we are making progress. The making of a nation and the building of a house are a living process. They cannot be static and must be dynamic. Errors are made sometimes, and renovations must correct them after the house is completed. Indeed, in the recent past, in December of 1991, it was established that the one-party system was a design error in our nationhood, and the advancement of the Republic had outlived its usefulness, and we made renovations and changed the system. In 2007, we ran into another defect in our nation-building project, And we discovered that the politics of exclusion, in which the winner takes all, was not good for our country. And we were bold enough to change our constitution and expand the executive in order to accommodate the excluded. And indeed, when the former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and I shook hands on March 8th of 2018, it was because we saw a crack on the wall of our nation. We had run 2 elections that costed the country in excess of 1 trillion shillings. These losses made us see that we were staring at a nation divided right in the middle. But because we had disagreed respectfully, we knew that this was a mark of progress, and though it was difficult, the necessity, the reason, and recognition that we as Kenyans need each other, nation before self, as our forefathers had taught us, to come together reinforced our resolve. Therefore, again, I will continue to say that we need to come together and mend the crack on the wall of our nation, and this, I believe, is what necessitated the First Amendment to our Constitution. And although it encountered some legal obstacles, I say again today that BBI is just a dream deferred. One day, someday, it will happen. Because just as the country cannot survive ethnic majoritarianism and exclusion, just in the same breath, it cannot survive unfair and skewed representation. This is a design defect, and we must fix it. Fellow Kenyans, the Garden of the People, therefore, is not just a place of remembrance. It was gifted to us as a place where generations shall tell stories of where we have come from, where we are, and indeed where we are going. It is an arena of truth, narrated before God, verified by history, and reinforced by the acts of our founding fathers and each and every one of us as we move through life. And it is a convergence point between our past, our present. It must also, therefore, be our guide for the future. Allow me, as I conclude, to give a thought towards that future. If the Asian tigers were at the same level of development as Kenya in 1963, and I remind Kenyans that our country, our nation, actually lent South Korea money to implement its development plan in 1963. The question we therefore must ask ourselves is what happened? Why were we unable to develop as fast as those did? This future did not happen because we failed to plan for it. The future evaded us because we failed to imagine it. And I say so because imagination is more powerful than knowledge. For the past to have an impact on our future, we must constantly imagine and reimagine it. Indeed, as we envision the future, we are also reminded that in 8 years' time, our economic blueprint, that is the Kenya Vision 2030, will have run its course. By then, Kenya will be home to a projected 63 million citizens. And as Kenya turns 100 in the year 2063, we will be home to 100 million citizens. For us to secure the elusive shared prosperity and intergenerational equity, we must be bold in our imagination of Kenya at 100. But our imagination cannot follow the popular path. It must follow the bold path. And indeed, Vision 2063 must be a bold imagination of what Kenya will be at 100 years. The solemn duty of framing how this vision looks is the task of our generation. Indeed, as our children will walk through the Boulevard of Heroes in this park and play in the Pavilion of Reflection, what account of ourselves will we in this unedited place of history. It must be written in this unedited book of history that we chose the bold path over the popular path. Indeed, as it is said, the lion is not the strongest animal in the savannah, neither is it the biggest, neither is it the shrewdest, but it is the boldest, and that is why it is the king. Indeed, it is for this very same reason that it is said that an army of sheep led by a lion can defeat an army of lions led by a sheep. The future of Kenya, inspired by the past and present, must be about a brave imagination. That is why today I congratulate the young men and women of the 19th Battalion of the Kenya Rifles, to whom I have presented the electricity by over 30% is on course. In honor of this pledge to the nation and response to the concerns of the high cost of electricity raised both by individual customers and enterprises, I am pleased to announce to the nation that the reduction of the cost of electricity will be implemented in 2 tranches of 15% each, with the first 15% achieved through initial actions focusing on system and commercial losses, and this will be reflected in people's bills in December of this year. A further 15% reduction will happen in the first quarter of 2022. In realizing the second tranche of reduction in power bills, I note that the Ministry of Energy and other government departments have initiated engagement with independent power producers aimed at renegotiation of power purchase agreements so as to give our country better value for money for our consumers. I urge the power producers to demonstrate goodwill as we seek to make our energy sector a greater catalyst of our national development. So as we move to the new year 2022, I would wish to leave you with the words of our founding president as he wished our new republic a Merry Christmas 57 years ago. And in it he urged our good men and women to be of service to their fellow countrymen. And indeed his New Year message was, and I quote, "Let everyone who is educated teach others to read and write. Let every man who is healthy help a man who is sick. Let every man who has work find some prospect for a man that is poor and not employed. Let service be our inspiration for the future," end of quote. And with this message, I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a prosperous 2022. Asanteni sana wenzangu. Leo nimesema sitaongea mengi. Juzi nilipata nafasi kule bunge ya kutaja mambo mbalimbali ambayo serikali ambayo naiongoza tumeweza kuyatenda. Siku ya leo ni siku ya kukumbuka mashujaa, wale ambao walipigania uhuru wa taifa hili letu la Kenya, wale ambao wamepigania demokrasi ya taifa hili letu la Kenya. Na hapa ambapo tulipo ni pahali ambapo patasaidia sisi kama Wakenya kujikumbusha mema na mazuri ambayo tumeweza kuyatenda, yale mabaya ambayo tumepitia na ambayo tuwatakikana tusome ndio tusirudie, na pia yale maovu ambayo yametendeka ambaye lazima kama nchi tujikinge na tuhakikishe ya kwamba hatuwezi tena kurudi kwa umwagikaji wa damu. Ningependa nichukue fursa hii kushukuru wote ambao tumefanya kazi pamoja na wao katika huu mradi wa kujenga hii Uhuru Gardens. Nianze kwanza kwa kushukuru jeshi letu kupitia wewe CDF na wenzako. Jeshi limejikaza kabisa pamoja na wengine na tujue ya kwamba hata ule mtu ambaye amechora na wale ambao wamekuwa ma-engineers wote ni wananchi na watoto wa jamhuri hii yetu ya Kenya, na tunawashukuru, na tunasema ya kwamba mbele ya mwezi wa 4 mwaka ujao tutarudi hapa kufungua museum ambayo iko hapa na kufungua hii uwanja kikamili kwa wale wote, wananchi wote, watoto wa shule bila malipo waweze kutembea, wajionee historia yao, wajionee pahali ambapo wametoka, wajifunze kutoka babu zetu, na waweze kujua pahali ambapo wangependa kupeleka nchi hii. Ningefanya makosa kama singemshukuru moja kati yetu hapa ambaye tumekuwa tukiongea na yeye kutoka miezi karibu 14 wakati nilianza hii project ya Uhuru Gardens, ambaye tumetembea na yeye hapa sana na amenipatia mawaidha. Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, nasema asante sana kwa yale ambayo umetusaidia kutenda. Naonekana hawa wazee wanataka uwaongeleshe, kuja uwasalimie jameni.
Your Excellency, Rais wa Jamhuri wa Kenya, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, Mama wa Taifa ya Jamhuri ya Kenya, Mama Ngina Kenyatta, Mama Margaret Kenyatta, Naibu Rais, viongozi wote wamefika hapa siku ya leo. Harambee! 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 Nimesema hayo kwa sababu yale ndio yalifanyika hapa miaka 58 iliyopita. Your Excellency, I have only 2 things that I want to tell Kenyans today. First way is true what you have said here about these grounds. But Kenyans must also know that this ground was not chosen for no reason. One, there was a motion in Parliament, and I see the speakers here, then called Legico, about the site. Then there were 3 sites. One was along what was called Princess Elizabeth Highway, now Uhuru Highway, and that was Uhuru Park. The other one was called Mitchell Park, which is today called Jamuhuri Park or ASK grounds. This one here was called an open ground next to Nairobi Dam. This one was chosen because it was a concentration camp where, as the President has said, freedom fighters were tortured, like they were tortured in Hitler's Auschwitz and Buchenwald. Here, next to the Western Hotel, which was part of this ground, in Langata Primary School, there are torture chambers which have been preserved by the Museum of Kenya for people to know where we are coming from. Your Excellency, what you've done here is great. I'd asked you when you went to Namibia to go and look at what they have done. When you came back, you told me, we will do better. We will actually come up with the best in Africa. How we are going to remember our past. There are those who say, forget about the past. We want to look at the future. The past is very important because if you don't look at the past, you are likely to repeat the same mistakes made in the past. And here, Your Excellency, you say that you want history unedited here. People will come to know who Wayaki Wahinga was, who Haridhuku was, and so many of those our heroes here. Many of Kenyan patriots have worked here. Historians, geologists, anthropologists, political scientists, architects, engineers have worked here. And people are going to be surprised at what you've done here. It shows your vision for this nation, of our country. So we, therefore, Your Excellency, I want to congratulate you in front of fellow Kenyans here for the work that you've done that will only be recognized many years after you've left office. So we congratulate you, and this land had been grabbed, but those land grabbers who do not see any open space and stop grabbing them. But you managed to retrieve it back for the benefit of our people, and it's going to remain truly Uhuru Gardens, where we also are going to bury our heroes and remember them for posterity. I thank you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Haya, kwa hayo machache na mengi, mimi nawatakia Wakenya kila laheri. Mungu awabariki. Mungu awabariki taifa letu la Kenya. Tuwe na Krismasi njema. Tuwe na mwaka mpya wa amani. Majaliwa ya Mwenyezi Mungu, tutaonana tena. Asanteni sana, kwaherini. Thank you very much.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Rais. Kwa heshima Mheshimiwa Rais, naomba tuketi kwa kifupi. Kwa heshima Mheshimiwa Rais, naomba uniruhusu niwaalike wachache utakao watunza medali mbalimbali. Head of Public Service, kindly, if we could continue. Thank you, sir.
Your Excellency, sir, I wish to present to Your Excellency for conferment of awards and honors to the following persons for the distinguished and outstanding service they have rendered to this nation.
You are not audible, so maybe you can
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Deputy President. Let me repeat again. Your Excellency, sir, I wish to present to Your Excellency for conferment of awards and honors to the following persons for the distinguished and outstanding service they have rendered to this nation. One, the Order of the Burning Spear, under the category of the second class, Order of the Burning Spear, that is EBS. We have Engineer Kishan Singh Gehlot.
Engineer Gehlot is the founding chairman of Intersect Construction Limited and KJ Group. He is also the director Medanta Africare facility in East Africa. Your Excellency, he donated a large asphalt batching plant ama kiwanda cha kutengeneza rami with capacity of 128 metric tons per hour to Nairobi Metropolitan Service. This plant has greatly assisted in the tarmacking of roads in Nairobi to improve transport infrastructure in the city of Nairobi. He is awarded Elder of the Order of the Burning Spear, EBS, for his dedicated service to the public. Congratulations, Engineer Onyesha Wananchi. Asante. Asante sana.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, under the same category, we have Dr. Willis Akware of the Ministry of Health.
Dr. Akwale is the chairman National COVID-19 Vaccines Deployment Task Force in the Ministry of Health. Under his leadership, the country has administered over 8 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines. He has also coordinated the receipt of over 10 million assorted vaccines from the COVAX program and other donors. This has strengthened our efforts against COVID-19. He is awarded Elder of the Order of the Burning Spear, EBS, for dedicated service. Congratulations again.
We have Sergeant Salim Mohammed Salim Buna.
Sergeant Salim Mohammed was in the Kenya Defense Forces in 1992. On 3rd of September 2020, of his mind, they encountered an improvised explosive device attack and control. While the vehicle proceeded to the scene to save his colleagues. Despite being shot 5 times in the right leg, he selflessly fought to save his colleagues. As a result of the injuries, he had to undergo knee replacement surgery. His heroic act saved the lives of his colleagues and managed to rescue the service vehicle from enemy capture. He is awarded Order of the Grand Warrior of Kenya, OGW. Congratulations. Congratulations, Sergeant. Asante sana.
The next one, sir, is Miss Faith Shemgetish Kipiegon.
Faith Kipiegon is a middle distance runner specializing in 1500 meters. She won a gold medal during the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, and she has won gold medals at the 2011 World Under 18 Championships and the 2012 World Under 20 Championships. The national anthem was played as the world listened due to her heroic victory. Your Excellency, she is awarded the Order of the Grand Warrior of Kenya for her exemplary performance. Congratulations, you can show the public. Asante sana waonyeshe. Asante, tumshukuru.
The last under that category, Your Excellency, is Miss Perez Shepchil.
Perez Jepchipchil is a professional long-distance runner. She won a gold medal during the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games in women's marathon, the toughest race in the Olympics. She has also won gold medal at the IAAF World Half Marathon Championships in 2016 and again gold at the World Championships 2020. She is also a former half marathon world record champion. She is awarded the Order of the Grand Warrior of Kenya, OGW, for exemplary performance. Asante tuonyeshe wananchi, asante sana, and congratulations again.
The last category, sir, is the Silver Star of Kenya, that is SS. We have Captain Ari Chitalo Lamadhan.
Corporal Shitiaro is specialized in counter-terrorism. On 18th May 2021 in Boni Forest, he was one of the gunners who was instrumental in repulsing the enemy fire. While still executing his role as a gunner, he often conducted medical assistance to 2 of his seriously injured colleagues. During the intense gunfight, he was separated from his team and survived in Boni Forest without food or water for a period of 6 days with 2 gunshot wounds in his legs. He is awarded the Silver Star of Kenya for bravery and self-sacrifice. Asante Kopro, tuonyeshe wananchi. Asante sana. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. That comes to the head.
Niombe sasa sote tusimame kwa wimbo wa taifa.
Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu, jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuwajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu, nguzo yetu, jumuiya yetu.
Wananchi watukufu, tafadhali tunaomba msubiri hadi mgeni wetu rasmi aweze kuondoka uwanjani, na nitampa mwenzangu Inspector Sara Mauti aweze kutuletea itifaki hiyo jinsi tutakavyoondoka hapa uwanjani.
Asanti. Itifaki ya kuondoka itakuwa ifuatavyo: magari rasmi ya Mheshimiwa Rais na Mheshimiwa Mama wa Taifa yataongoza. Watasindikizwa na gari la Mkuu wa Majeshi ya Ulinzi Jenerali Robert Kibochi, magari rasmi ya Mheshimiwa Rais na Mheshimiwa Mama wa Taifa akisindikizwa na gari la Mkuu wa Majeshi ya Ulinzi Jenerali Robert Kibochi yatatangulia katika uratibu huo, na kisha baadaye tutakuwa wengine. Tafadhali tubaki kama tumetulia ili tumruhusu mgeni wetu wa heshima aweze kuondoka mwanzo ndio tuweze kufuata. Tafadhali tutulie sote.
Nigatho mwiroreri wa TV ni twakinya muthia wa igongona ria umuthi riria riuma ria gukungwira miaka 58 kuma riria bururi wa Kenya wageire na wiathi, kana kuma riria federa ino iguku thiini wa kiharo giki ya haicirio ria mbere o thiini wa kiharo giki kia Uhuru Gardens. Ririkana kiharo giki gikoretwo gigithondekwo kwa ihinda ria makiria ma mwaka umwe, na President Uhuru Kenyatta thiini wa ndumiriri yake ni atirihana kuga ati mweri wa na mwaka ukite nyumba ya monanio kana iria citagwo museum nigakorwo ikihingurwo nigetha gukorwo kuigitwo history ya bururi witu kuria twaumira matuko ma mbere tutanakinya na kugia na wiathi, na thutha ucio na ihinda riu ria kugia na wiathi nigetha arutwo magokaga guku guthoma maundu matiganite, na auga ati matirere hagio. Oho President Uhuru Kenyatta ni akorwo ahutiriria uhoro wa thogora wa thitima, na auga ati mwaka ukite thogora uyu ni ugukorwo ugithie thi na gicunje kia 30% no ikugwa na mena iri kwambiriria gicunje gia 15% na rita riu ringi githie gicunje kiu kingi nigetha kihinge 30% kuria thutha wako ni hindi President Uhuru Kenyatta arehariria nigetha akorwo akiuma thiini wa giikaro giki, na kuma haha turamenyithia ati ari othe makorwo metitwo thiini wa ndia iria igukorwo thingiraini wa iregi nikuo magukorwo magithie kumania na haha. Ririkana no twathikiriria ndumiriri ya mutongoria wa ODM Raila Odinga, na ihinda-ini riu no twaigwa ndumiriri ya munini wa President William Ruto uria waritie uhoro wa bururi kunyitana na guikara uri na wuiguano. Nie njitagwo Karo Kinyugo Mwaura. Ihinda-ini riri ndenda gugucokia mwena uri ungi kuri aria gitukiuma nao guku thiini wa kiharo giki wa Weru wa Nyambura na Kate Muthoni. Ngagucokeria ngatho ni undu wa nyitaniri waku. Reke nguikia o kurio nigetha matuhingire tafarira ino.
Thank you muno Karo Kinyugo wa Mwaura. Mbere itu turerorera ugemu wa muthubari wa President Uhuru Kenyatta ukiuma kiharo-ini kia Uhuru Gardens kuria twakorwo tugikungwira Mambura Ma 58 ya Jamuhuri. Niri muthenya uria bururi wegwatire wiathi, maundu matiganite makorwo makiumira. Ndio ni kaundu kariku gakorwo gakihutia meciria maku kuma kwi ndumiriri iria ciarekererio muthenya umuthi ni President Uhuru Kenyatta, munini wake Ndagitari William Ruto na mutongoria wake makia ODM Raila Odinga.
Ni Waweru kwa ria mbere riria ndaigua muno President ahinyiriria na njira nene ni ati ni hari bata wa Akenya kurutithania wira niguo gukuria bururi tondu ona andu aria mateithiririe kuruira wiyathi ni marutithanirie wira hamwe na magioka hamwe niguo mahote guteithiriria bururi ukure no kinya haria uri gukinyiria hau koguo president ahinyiriria ati ona angikorwo ni kuri andu ni mari na mugayukano wa maundu matiganite mauteti kana kini hari bata wa andu kuiguithania na kurutithania wira hamwe niguo bururi witu ukure no korwo kionereria kia mabururi mangi magukuguo na oho president nyakorwa kiaririria uhoro wigie andu aria mateithiririe kuruira wiyathi wa bururi kuria uga ati kiharo giki kia Uhuru Garden nigigukorwo kumana na haha tondu nigigutuika museum iria igukorwo igiteithiriria a Kenya kuririkana bururi witu waumire ha na ni ao mateithiririe kuruira bururi witu wiyathi witu na koguo niga andu aria ta Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Jomo Kenyatta Mekatilini wa Meza Dedan Kimathi andu tacio ni magukorwo na handu ha mwanya haria magukorwo makiririkano na ho kiharo-ini giki na oho president no athi na mbere na kuga atiri iguru ria kuririkana andu acio oho ni tugukorwo na handu haukorwo hagitariria bururi witu wambiriirie hana haria ukinyite gukinyiria haha kuria president auga ati kiharo giki mweri wa kana mwaka turorete niguo gitanyitwo ati gukorwo gikihingurirwo muingi niguo uke ona guo wiyonere no thome maundu megie guku bururi-ini.
Wonderful. Kindu kiria kiangenia na nie ni hau matariria uhoro wigie history ya bururi wa Kenya na mutongoria wa kiama kia ODM Raila Odinga agenia kiuga ati history ya bururi wa Kenya ni yagirire kwandikwo weru na yandikwo uria etari tondu gutuikaga ati ona tukire na Johnson Sakaja senator wa Nairobi tukiambiriria Mambura Ma Jamuhuri ne ugire maita maingi uria waheirwo kanya ga kwandika history andikire haria ha mufevire na mutongoria wake makia ODM Raila Odinga yuga agikorwo ni gukugia na mweke wa kwandika history iria ikuigwo thiini wa museum ino ikorwo ikiandikwo history iria ma ejega ejoru egikwaruzaga andu amwe kana ikihaturaga andu amwe undu ungi wakorwo ukingenia na ndumiriri ya mutongoria wa kiama kia na ndumiriri ya president Uhuru Kenyatta ni uria atariria iguru rigie njera iria yari kiharo-ini giki tuikarire andu aingi magerirwo ngero angi makiuragwo magithikwo thiini wa mbirira citari ciamenyekana wari na akuhi njera iria ciothe ciari guku bururi-ini Kate andu aingi aria makorirwo makigererwo ngero kou ni agikuyu ino yarangata gutuikaga ni imwe ya iria ciari njoru no tio yari njoru biu he ingiteria iragwo ya manyani mwena wa gicua-ini Shimo Latewa kuria mwena wa Hola Tana River na he ingi ikoragwo county-ini ya Siaya thiini wa gicigirira gitagwo Mageta ku nikuo JM Kariukia ohetwo no kuo Waruru wa Kanjohetwo na andu aria moimite ku makiheana ngano cia maundu maria magereire moigaga ati kwari kundu kuritu muno na iyo niyo history iria atongoria maroiga ati ndiagirire gukorwo igifutwo na yagire gukorwo igithie na mbere na gutigirira ati ona njiarwa iria cigoka thutha witu ni cigakorwo na kanya ga kumenya ati andu aria maurwirire wiyathi wa bururi wa Kenya magereire maundu maritu na muno makiria magitutigira kiundu kiria tukoragwo tugitira muthenya wa umuthi ona gutuika andu aingire makoragwo magikiringa itheru togo president Uhuru Kenyatta akorwo akiuga
no ho igogona-ini riri president ni ahutiriria uhoro wa thogora wa thitima kiu ni kindu kingi ahutia na iga ati akenya ni makoretwo magiteta muno nundu wa thogora wa thitima kwambatira na koguo aiga kwambiriria mwaka ukite kwambiria mweri ni agukorwo agihitukia watho wa kuguithia thogora na gicunji kia 30 hari igana na koguo ni undu utanyitwo guteithiriria akenya kumana na uria gukoretwo na moritu ma muturire
na tugitiriha undu ungi weyumiria muthenya wa umuthi ni ati imwe cia njorua iria ikoretwo igithamaka thiini wa sector itiganite thiini wa maundu matiganite ni ciakorwo cigitugwo na kaundu kamwe ndona ni ati o mundu wothe uria ukumiraga haria gitumi giake gia gutugwo kiagwetwo andu aria moima haha ni kuhura mekuhuraga makofi kuga ati gwiciria rita rĩa mbere thutha wa ihinda iraya akenya ni makorwo magitikira ati andu aria matugwo muthenya wa umuthi ni njamba cia bururi tondu rimwe andu ni matugagwo ugakorwo na ciuria nyingi cia ritwa riu riuma ku atugirwo ki no gwiciria mutaratara wa umuthi uma na waragania wiho na akenya aria moima kiharo-ini giki ni makungwira undu ucio muno na muno makiria Faith Kipyegon njorua ya ihenya rĩa mita 1,500 ĩrĩa ĩkoretwo ĩgĩteithĩrĩria rwĩmbo rwa bũrũri wa Kenya gũkorwo rũgĩthakwo rũkamenyekana ngongo na ngongo nĩ tondũ wa ũhoti wake wa kũhotana ihenya rĩu rĩa 1,500. Hena ũndũ ũngĩkĩti kana tũkũnje kĩbarĩ?
Niona harĩa hangĩ ngĩongera nĩ atĩ mũtongoria wa kĩama kĩa ODM o hamwe na mũnini wa president nĩ makorwo makĩgathĩrĩria president nĩ wĩra ũrĩa akoretwo akĩruta, makauga atĩ nĩ erutanĩirie na makĩria gũtigĩra atĩ kĩharo gĩkĩ nĩ kĩrakwo nĩguo kũririkana ũndũire witũ na kũririkana andũ arĩa mateithĩrĩirie kũrũĩra bũrũri, na koguo president nĩ atũgĩrĩtio nĩ ũndũ wa wĩra wake.
Na ũteti hanini tondũ munini wa president Dagitari William Ruto na mũtongoria wa kĩama kĩa ODM Raila Odinga moigĩte umwe wao angĩkayũkia gĩturwa gĩa president gĩthurano-inĩ kĩa mwaka twerekeire nĩ magakorwo magĩkinyanĩria tabarĩra iria ciothe president Uhuru Kenyatta agakorwo ambĩrĩirie, na tũrehoka atĩ kĩranĩro kĩao nĩ makahingia na project teno kũrĩa akenya magokaga kwĩrorera rũgano rwa kũrĩa moimĩte nigetha mataũkĩrwo wega nĩ kũrĩa marorete. Na tũrĩa president oiga kĩharo gĩkĩ kiroto gĩake gĩakinyanĩra kĩaya gũgakorwo kĩrĩ mweke mwega wa bũrũri wa Kenya wa kũiguithania ira rĩaguo, ũmũthĩ waguo na rũciũ rwaguo, nigetha mũico a Kenya makorwo metaũkĩirwo makĩria, tondũ mwandĩki wa mabuku wĩtagwo Ndĩritũ wa Ndego arĩ gavana wa mbere wa bengi ya bũrũri, oigaga mũndũ ũtataũkĩirwo nĩ history yake nĩ rũgano rwake ndakoragwo emenyete, na ngwĩciria rũgano rũu rũkaroigwo haha na twarũmenya twimenye wega nĩ tũgũkorwo tũkĩhota kũnyitana tũtwarithie bũrũri witũ na mbere tũrĩ hamwe. Hau nĩho tũgũkinyia ũmemerekia witũ wa mũthenya wa ũmũthĩ, twakorwo tũnyitanĩire na andũ matiganĩte kuma kũrĩa gwa technical, fundi ya mĩtambo, ahũri a mbica gũkũ kĩharo-inĩ na kũrĩa studio, yuma timu nditũ ĩrĩa yakinyanĩria ũmemerekia ũyũ. Ithuĩ kĩrĩa tweka no kũgemia twagemia wĩra wao na twakena mũno nĩ gwĩtĩkĩra kũnyitanĩra na ithuĩ handũ-inĩ hao na kuma kĩharo-inĩ kĩa Uhuru Gardens. Njĩtagwo Wawerũ wa Nyambura.
Nani mwĩroreri njĩtagwo Kate Muthoni, na nĩ wega nĩ kũnyitanĩra na ithuĩ.
Riuma rita rĩaku rĩa mbere waigua atĩa?
Aigua wega.
Ũgwĩka maũndũ ma ihinda rĩnene mũno na wishing you the best. Nĩ waruta wĩra mwega. Being the first time. Asante sana.
Thank you mũno.
Gĩana hwaĩ-inĩ mwega, tũgũcokia studio kũrĩ ũmemerekia witũ o ta mũtugo.
Mukomyithiko kia John Gakuga Kiboi, mwana wa Tigaire Kiboi Guju na Wachera, muthuri wa Mary Wairimu Gakuga, ithe wa Kiboi, Wachera, Wabui, Joki, Muthoni, Ndegwa, Waithera na Tigaire Mwangi, Wangui na Wangeci, Maciani na Tigaire Wangeci, Waithera na Muthoni, mũrũ wa ithe na Wangeci, Wangui na Tigaire Wanyeki, Wanjohi na Ndohiũ, Uguka wa Reverend John wa KAG Rural Church, Dongos, Wairimus, Wacheras, Kibois na Geige. Ithe ũrĩa kerĩ wa Wachera, Wangui, Grace, Muiro, Chege na Geige. Andũ nĩ maracemania gwa Kenya Mathi kũhoya na kũharia mathiko. Mũrũkarutwo Jamani Funeral Home Karai Naivasha, Jumatano tariki 15 Disemba mwaka ũyũ thaa 2. Mahoya na mathiko magakorwo mũciĩ gwa Kenya Mathi Farm